Good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the dedication of the Manthala George Junior School. What a glorious day. I'd like to introduce the Superintendent of Schools, Basan Nimberko.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Manthala George Junior School, almost as hard as my name. We are here to celebrate the opening of this beautiful new building, a gorgeous manifestation of the best public education has to offer. The building serves some of our newest immigrants and is named for a son of an immigrant who helped shape the educational system in the city of Brockton and the state of Massachusetts. I want to thank Matt George for all he did as superintendent, for seeing the school district through difficult financial times, for providing great leadership and guidance and helping make education reform a reality. His efforts have enabled today's educators to provide the highest quality of education for all students. This gleaming school building clearly makes us the envy of our neighbors, but schools like this don't just magically appear. It takes hard work and the dedication of many people to get them approved and funded through the state, and we're very fortunate that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts builds buildings. I came from North Carolina, and before that I was in other states. It was always up to the local community. 90% of the funds for this school have been reimbursed to the city of Brockton by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That's a tremendous support for our city. And Catherine Craven is here, the head of it. She will speak later. I want to publicly thank our mayor, present mayor, and our previous mayor, the state delegation who are here, our city councilors, and the school committee for having the foresight and the wisdom to invest in our children's future. With us today, we have a list of dignitaries. Obviously, Matt George draws out the best. We have Mayor Harrington. We have former superintendent of schools, Manthala George, obviously, but I think last time I mentioned the fact there were 3 superintendents here, and I kept 3 of them quiet. So today I won't have the same opportunity. Former Superintendent Robert Jones. Former mayor who had a great deal to make this possible, John Units. State Representative Geraldine Creedon. Representative Michael Brady. And Senator Thomas Kennedy. We're also fortunate to have many members of our city council here. Michael Brady again, wearing 2 hats. Dennis Ianieri sitting behind me. Dennis DiNapoli. Christopher McMillan. Linda Balzati. Robert Sullivan. Timothy Cruz. And again, also members of our school committee, Thomas Minicello, Ward 1. Richard Batt, Ward 2 and Vice Chair of the school committee. Denise Beyer, Ward 3. Patricia Joyce, Ward 4, a member of the building committee. James Daly, Ward 6. And Ron Dabrowski, Ward 7, and also a member of the building committee. I would also like to thank the architectural team of HMF Architects, including the lead architect, Philip Pip Lewis. Pip, stand up, please. Back over here. And the great building committee that met regularly to ensure this project was in on time and is always under budget in the city of Brockton. First, we had Superintendent of Buildings Joe Vassapolo. Project Manager Ron Palacino, Facilities Manager George Bezra Jr., the 3 school committee members, Patty Joyce, Brian Foley, and Ron Dabrowski, city councilors Dennis Napoli and Chris McMillan, and former school committee member and citizen representative Maurice Hancock. I would be really remiss in not to mention people who made this afternoon possible. And it's like running a bus company. When it runs on time and the bus is clean, no one cares. First time it doesn't do that, people get all upset. So from Manthala George's side, Al ACF was absolutely incredible in getting the list and making sure that we're there. And from my office, Barbara Souza and Jean Herbert have worked tirelessly to do this. And then on the facilities, Jim Hayden and George Bezra Jr. made sure everything was ready. And finally, since we are all about kids, we're all about schools, we're all about staff, there are many members of the George school staff who are here with their principal, Vilma Gonzalez, and assistant principal, Mark Gossi. Please stand up. We want to thank these people. These are the folks that will take the state-of-the-art building and all the technology that's here and ensure that every student that walks through the doors will get the best possible education. So again, I want to thank you all for coming this afternoon, and I will hand the program over to our most capable Director of Human Resources, Ms. Kathleen Saroy.
Please stand for the presentation of the colors.
Ready, face, present, arms, order, arms, ready, face, forward, march.
Please remain standing for the presentation of the United States flag from the Daughters of the American Revolution. I'd like to introduce Regent Glenna Pananen. She will be followed by a salute to the flag by the students of the Manthala George Junior School. Please remain standing for both of those pieces of the program.
Thank you. And good afternoon, Mayor Harrington, Superintendent Namberko, Mr. George, and all dignitaries. I am Glenna Pananen, Regent of the Deborah Sampson Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, an international society founded 118 years ago with 43 state chapters in Massachusetts, headquarters in Washington, D.C. The DAR recognizes good citizenship, patriotism, and the study of American history, awarding students for their outstanding achievements and encouraging them in future endeavors. Students in our schools today will be the leaders of tomorrow. It is indeed an honor on this day of the Manthala George School dedication to present the American flag and staff, which has been donated by the Deborah Sampson chapter of the DAR. I thank you for your time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. I'd like to introduce Colonel Robert E. Tripp, Brockton High School Junior ROTC Commander.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. Mr. George, Senator Kennedy, Representative Brady, Representative Creedon, Representative Canavan, Mayor Harrington, distinguished guests, family and friends of Matt George. It is an honor, indeed, for the Brockton High School Army Junior ROTC Color Guard to open today's dedication of the Manthala George Junior Elementary School. JROTC began in Brockton during Mr. George's watch as superintendent. That was in 1994. And since that time, well over 1,000 students have participated. Among our alumni are graduates of the United States Military Academy at West Point, as well as many other great colleges and universities around the country. Several of our former cadets have served or are currently serving in all branches of the armed forces, either as commissioned officers or enlisted personnel. Aside from the military, other former students have gone on to successful civilian careers after high school and college, to include law enforcement, banking, engineering, education, just to name a few. There's even a teacher currently at Brockton High School who was in the Junior ROTC program when she was there as a student. High school students achieve their goals through hard work with the encouragement and support of their parents, teachers, and other adults who provide a positive influence. Junior ROTC plays a role in that. It brings students with like interests together into a positive peer group, much as the marching band and the football team do, where members encourage each other, are there for each other, and often motivate each other toward academic success. While perhaps small in comparison to his other accomplishments, Superintendent George, by bringing Junior ROTC to Brockton, added a tool to help students realize their potential. And it was a decision that has ultimately benefited literally hundreds of kids. Sir, I know firsthand that the kids of Brockton were always your first priority. And in this city of champions, you are a champion in your own right. It is indeed fitting to have this beautiful elementary school named for you, and we of the Brockton High School Junior ROTC, part of your legacy as superintendent, are proud to participate in the ceremony today. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce the Reverend Tony Akori from the St. Teresa Maronite Catholic Church.
This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice in it and be glad. In the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good afternoon, everyone. Ahla wa sahla. I would like to welcome everybody. And what a glorious afternoon it is, especially for those of us present who love and respect Mr. Manthala George Jr., a man of impeccable character, a person of incredible faith, an individual of conviction and vision, an educator of the highest ideals. Today, as we celebrate the dedication of this beautiful new school, let us recall that famous verse by Tagore, an Indian poet. I slept and dreamt that life was but joy. I awoke and saw that life was but service. I served, and behold, I understood that service was joy. Matt's life exemplifies the theme of joyful service to others. His service is one born of love, faith, and dedication, a service which stems from a strong sense of a higher purpose. Matt has always been an ambassador of faith and good works. Throughout the years, he has faithfully served his family, his parish community, Brockton Public Schools, and the great city of Brockton, the city of champions. May his life's example be a source of inspiration and motivation for each one of us to better serve our families and friends, our schools and community, our society at large, with compassion, kindness, and faith. Today, we dedicate the school, the Manthala George Jr. School, for the glory of God and the upbuilding of the American society. We ask God's blessings on each of us here. We pray that God watch over the staff, students, and parents of this great school, that they form an ever-strong, dynamic community of lifelong learners, that all who enter its hallways endeavor to always do their best and be their best. In Psalm 92, it's written, "A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver and gold." We ask especially that God hold Matt in his special care, that he will continue to bless him with strength and wisdom and faith, that his good name, Manthala, which means God's grace, will be honored for many generations to come. All of this we ask in God's name, amen. God bless you all.
When I look over to my left, I see the real reason why we're all here and why so many of us have dedicated our lives to being teachers and school administrators. The real reason are the students and staff of Brockton Public Schools especially. We will delight in a few musical selections from students of the George School under the direction of their music instructor, Ms. Ellen Pellerine. Thank you very much. Our next speaker has a tough act to follow. I'd like to introduce the Honorable Thomas P. Kennedy, State Senator. And Senator, I'll bring this microphone down to you.
Thank you. I feel like a student returning to school after spring or midterm break with a term paper that was due. Because in all honesty, I don't have a dog at home, but truly my speech has been eaten up by my computer. So I'm going to have to wing it. So please take this as my excuse. First of all, some of what I was going to say has been so nicely captured by Father Tony, and certainly he can express those words far better than I. But I am indeed a privilege to be included in today's speaking program. Matt, Reverend Father Tony, School Superintendent Buzz, His Honor the Mayor, my colleagues in state government, and city and local government, distinguished members of the George family, and all of you here present. Today we gather it's a very happy day. A happy day for Brockton, a happy day for the school system, and a happy day for Matt George and his proud family. We honor not only the man Matt George, but the persona that accompanies that man. And to me, I like to look upon it as a tapestry that makes up Matt George. And that tapestry is made of many beautiful and vibrant colors. And it's a sturdy and a strong fabric that makes that tapestry able to endure the many years of service and the long life that Matt has enjoyed. And that strong, sturdy fabric stems from his Lebanese culture, his Lebanese heritage, a rich culture, and a heritage that he's so very proud of, and the core values that were instilled in him by his beautiful parents, Manthala and Manthala, George. You know, all of us have role models in life, and many times those role models are our parents. But Matt has been blessed not only with extraordinary parents, good, decent, hardworking people, but exceptional siblings, brothers and sisters, that were such great influences on his life, and that he, as the youngest, grew to love and admire from his earliest days. And they, in turn, have showered that love and admiration on him. And he is truly their pride and joy, as he is the pride and joy of so many of us gathered here today. But that tapestry stems with the colors, starting with the green and white of Lebanon, the white of the beautiful snowy mountains that you can see from his home village of Mount Lebanon in Akora. The green from the beautiful and stately cedars of Lebanon. Those trees that have been written down to eons by not only sacred scripture, but by the Phoenicians and the Greeks and the Romans of time past. But then you have the colors of the red and black of Brockton, the city that Matt has constantly demonstrated his great love his great pride, and his total commitment to him. Added to that is the purple of our mutual alma mater, Stonehill College. And topping it all off is the red, white, and blue of our proud country, our beautiful country. Matt is a generous and a patriotic and a giving American. You mix all those colors together, you have the tapestry that is Matt George. Now, we all know that he's a humble man. And at his retirement 2 years back, I spoke about some of the endearing qualities that I hold special for Matt George. And I said he was a gentleman of the highest degree, a man that was immensely fair, immensely considerate, extremely kind. All that has been demonstrated time and time throughout his life. I think the finest was in those dark days of the Prop 2.5 fallout. Nothing could have been worse for the public school system, except what we're going through now, unfortunately. But we had Matt then, and we still have him now, to advise and counsel and help guide us through it. But Matt, you probably look upon this as, an exceptional honor and a humbling experience. But please know that this is not just an honor for you and your proud family. It's an honor for all of us Brocktonians, all of us people who share the same great affection and love for public service, for the public good, for public education that you have demonstrated throughout your life. May the generations of school children that come through these doors learn about the life of Matt George and take from his life an example of pride and emulate the fine qualities that have made you the great love of all of us assembled here and the man that we hold so dear in our hearts. God bless you, Matt George. God bless all who serve to educate and instill the virtues of education and wisdom. And God bless America.
I'd like to introduce Representative Geraldine Creedon, who has a proclamation for Matt George and for the George School.
Good afternoon. It's certainly my honor. When I first came to Brockton and married into the Creedon family with Robert, not only were the Georges responsible for educating us, I think for most of us they were also responsible for clothing us very nicely. Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Manthala George Jr. in recognition of the naming and dedication of Brockton's newest school in your honor. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. It's given this 8th day of March 2009 at the State House, signed by the new Speaker of the House, Robert DeLeo, offered by Geraldine Creedon and Michael Brady, State Representative, and Christine Canavan, State Representative. And this is very similar except presented to the school, so I will not read it, especially in the interest of time, but I will present it to the new principal, Mrs. Gonzalez.
The Honorable Dennis Ioneary, Councillor, Ward 3.
Thank you, and good afternoon. It's a great honor and a great privilege for me to be here today and to be a part of the ceremonies for Mr. George. Mayor Harrington, Superintendent of Schools Nemberkow, Superintendent George, all other distinguished guests that will be speaking, of course my colleagues in the City Council, members of the Brockton School Committee, and of course to the George family. I was asked to be speaker here today as much as I wanted to be a part of the speaking program. Mr. Aziaf called me a few weeks back and asked if I would make sure I would have this day and date available because he felt that I could come with some wealth of history of those years of serving with Mr. George. I don't know if it's wealth of history or I'm just getting old, but in any case, I accepted his invitation and I am here today to bring what I call a little bit of history in regards to the many years that I served with Mr. George. I was elected to the Brockton School Committee in 1979, and at that point in time, when I became a member of the school committee in January of 1980, Mr. George was our Director of Personnel. I learned to begin to work with Mr. George as the Director of Personnel as a school committee member, as I did with all other administrators. Then the Superintendent of Schools was Dr. Thomas J. Whalen, and of course our Assistant Superintendent was Mr. Joseph Plouffe. At that point in time, things began on a nice note, but also began to get a little bit tougher because next we knew Proposition 2.5 was right at our tail. It was voted in by the voters in November of 1980, and by 1981 we were implementing Proposition 2.5. After already gone through what you'd call the 4% tax cut in some previous years. What did it mean? And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are sitting in this audience, as I see familiar faces, realize just what it meant. It meant devastation to the Brockton Public Schools. It meant layoffs to our teaching staff. It meant some difficult times. And at the same time, by 1983, Dr. Tom Whalen had said, maybe it's time for me to leave. I've done my 8 years. It's time for somebody else to come to the helm. And believe it or not, there were 5 or 6 great candidates. I know there's one that sits in the audience and became superintendent for a short term, and Mr. Jones at that time was also a candidate for the superintendency back then. And it was in November of 1983 that I and several other members of the school committee, then the school committee members were Ward 1, Mr. Fowler, Ward 2, the late Dave Hancock, who I had the great honor of serving with for so many years. His lovely wife Carol is here today to represent him. School committee man from Ward 3 was Mr. Gillette, who lives down on Cape Cod. Ward 4 was school committee woman Ann McCormick. Ward 6 was the late Bob Medeiros. Ward 7, the late Dick Sullivan from the fire department. So many great people. And believe it or not, and then the mayor was the late Paul Studinsky, was serving as mayor at that point in time. And I will tell you that as the votes were taken back in November of 1983, as Matt would say, nothing comes easy. But we elected Matt on the 7th ballot, and Matt became our superintendent. And I want to say that back in 1983, when he was starting his process and took over the helm in 1984, he knew that there were some difficult years before us, and we did have those difficult years. But the school committee in 1983 felt and saw through their wisdom that we wanted to elect a person that was going to bring us forth, bring us through those difficult times, carry us into the mid-'80s and get us into the mid-'90s. Probably hoped that it would have been the Edward Nelson of the superintendent of schools. That's who was superintendent when I was in school all my lifetime. There was only one superintendent. But Matt saw fit that after about 8.5 years, maybe it was time for him to move forward. But during that tenure, believe me, during that tenure, we had difficult times, we had midpoints of great times, but all through that process, Matt worked and did what he always said we had to do, which was to work in the best interest of the school system, to educate our children, to put out onto the street a great product, and that's what he wanted to do, and that's what we did. And believe me, he had a lot less staff than staff of today to do a lot of the things that he got done. And I think it's very important also, as we're here today in a new school building, that it was back in 1992 and 93 that Matt was already meeting with the Department of Education in regards to a voluntary desegregation plan, because he knew our school buildings needed to be balanced. He knew the state was coming in and they were going to come down hard, and we had to do something. And before Matt George left, I remember him telling that sitting school committee that you have a great opportunity to enter into a program that's going to be so beneficial for this city, this community, the children, the people, that you may even have a chance to build anywhere between 3 and 5 new school buildings. Well, folks, I think the gentleman that used to say, like the rest of the story goes, Matt was there and told us that don't let up on this particular process, get that plan through, and you'll have yourself some new buildings, and here we are today sitting in one of them. And I think that's a great honor and a great tribute to him, and a great tribute to know that this school is being named after him. I could talk a lot about history, but I don't want to do that. I was told I had 2 to 3 minutes, and I've probably already gone over that. But I think it's most important that people realize some of the back history of what Matt George went through as a superintendent. And somebody asked me today, was he a great superintendent? Oh, you bet he was. He was just as great as any other superintendent that has served this city. And I might say, I know as the superintendent, Nemberkow starts to depart later this year. He's done an outstanding job with this city also. And it's been my honor to have worked with him on the city council level. But I think it's most important that everybody knew just a little bit of a story of what Matt George was all about. And I know Matt likes what he calls keep it low profile. Don't say anything out of the norm. Just let's don't rock the boat. Just Dennis, please. And I know he's probably looking and saying, he is looking. See, it's that Matt George look, and he always gave me that Matt George look. But I can't say enough about him. In the school committees that we had over the years, I know Mrs. Hancock and I were just reminiscing today about some of the times. We were able at one point in time to sneak away to some national conferences that they can't do today. But we did that, and had a great time. And we came back and we hit the road hard, and we continue to work for the best interests of the children in the city. And that's what Matt George always did, and Matt George still does it even today. So Matt, to you, to your family, it's a great honor for me to be a part of this ceremony today. And it's a great honor to know that a school building is named after you. And a school building, this name makes history today also, because as a city official, we get out to a lot of dedications. It's not too often when the person that you're naming something can actually stand up afterwards and say, thank you. And I think that's history in itself being made today. So I commend you, Matt, and wish you the very best, you and your family. It's a wonderful day.
You've been around a long time when people tell a historical story, and you were in that story of history. Matt, I was there with you, as was our next speaker, the Executive Director of the Brockton Housing Authority, Richard Sergi.
Good afternoon. I was told 7 times, as recently as 10 minutes ago by the superintendent, that I only had 10 minutes. They were afraid I'd cracked the deadline. My standard answer has been that it'll take me 3 minutes just to get through the introductions. However, I'll do my best. Mayor Harrington, members of the Brockton School Committee, Senator Kennedy, Representative Creedon and Brady, elected and public officials, Superintendent Nimbuko, Ms. Herbert, friends and family of Manthala George Jr. Speaking here today in this extraordinary building named after a remarkable man is for me a very high honor. I've known Matt for nearly 40 years, and he has been a dear personal friend
and a real effective mentor for me. If I were to name a small handful of people who, over the past half a century, most affected the quality of life of the citizens of Brockton, Matt George would be among that very small handful. His greatest achievement, as you've heard earlier today, was during the 90s, when he literally saved the Brockton Public Schools. Matt was the superintendent. He was able to build a political and a community consensus around the future of public education in this city. He stabilized the foundation of the school system and enabled it to renew itself and develop into the rich and flourishing system that it is today. So Matt, on behalf of every school children in the Brockton Public Schools today, we say thank you. But as you've heard Superintendent Buzz say, Matt George's influence didn't remain there. He immediately collaborated with superintendents across the Commonwealth, and they worked very, very closely with the Department of Education and especially the Massachusetts legislature. And their influence and their work had a great impact on two major issues that developed during the 1990s. One was the decision by the Massachusetts Supreme Court that it was unconstitutional to use the property tax as a method for school funding. And second was the decision by the Massachusetts legislature to enact and to fund the educational, Educational Reform Act. So again, Matt, on behalf of every student across the Commonwealth, we thank you and your contemporaries for the work you did to enable our schools to be as successful as they are. I once asked Matt in a very serious moment, and he does have an occasional serious moment, how he would like to be remembered. And he said to me, Richard, I just want to be remembered as someone who cared. Well, there's no question in our minds today, with this beautiful tribute to him, that Matt George has cared. He cared about kids, particularly those kids who were marginalized. He cared about parents. He cared about school committees. He cared about teachers. He cared about neighborhoods. He cared about the city itself. Let every child and teacher who walks through the buildings of the school every morning know that the school in which they learn and the school in which they teach is named after one of Brockton's greatest champions, Manthala George, Jr.
The Honorable Peter G. AZF, Jr.
Mayor Harrington, Superintendent Embercow, Matt George, Senator Kennedy, Representative Brady, Representative Christine Canavan, members of our school committee, members of the city council, friends of Matt. I am indeed honored to stand here and say a few words about Matt. The words I was going to say have been already spoken by the 3 previous speakers. However, let me give it a shot. Where am I? I'm going back to 1980. I'm sure some of you can go back that far. 1980, what happened, Proposition 2.5 became law. That meant to the city of Brockton, the city had to cut $17 million out of its budget in 3 equal cuts over 3 years, 1981, 1982, 1983, 5.6 million or so each year. 1983, that cut and stopped, but the city also had to absorb inflation. 1984, who becomes the superintendent? Instead of running away, Matt George becomes the superintendent in these terrible, trying financial times. We might think in 85, 86, 87, 88, things would have gotten better, but it did not. Inflation was rampant. The city of Brockton could not have businesses come to Brockton and grow here or expand here because the state put a limit on us because we were about 20 feet low on the water at Silver Lake. And they wouldn't let the businesses grow, which would have given us more tax money. Now it comes around 1990, 1991, and the bottom falls out. We, the city of Brockton, had to let 30-odd firefighters go, 30-odd police officers go, turn streetlights off all over the city, but more directly to the schools, 200 school teachers were laid off, 200 classroom teachers, and scores of support personnel. And who was the superintendent? Matt George, through this terrible financial time, about as bad as it ever was in the city. And he did the job. How can I say that? I had 3 kids in school. One was beginning high school, one was junior high school, one was grammar school. They all graduated well, all went to 4-year colleges, all got their degrees. One of them's attorney, 2 of them are in business doing very well. And they have a number of friends. They were friends of their friends, and they were friends of mine, families of mine, that I got to know many of them, all doing very well. Went through the same school system at the same years that Matt George was superintendent. Did he do that by himself? Of course not. But he led it. He was the quarterback. He was the one who inspired. He was the one who had the teachers working to the degree that they were all committed. We're going to teach these kids. Regardless of the hard times we have, we're going to teach them. And they did it. And I thank them, and I thank Matt George for what it's meant to all of our kids. I have known, well, before I get off of that, a little over a year ago, Randolph school system was in trouble. The state was considering, should we take it over, should the state run it? They decided, no, they won't do that. They're going to get some able educators to go down there and see what they can do to improve the schools. And they put together a group of educators, and they got Matt George, and they said, Matt, you're the chairman. Go down there, see what your group can do. I want to just read a paragraph from the Globe, Boston Globe. These are not dear friends of his like I may be, and others say may be flower and praise him to the high heaven. These are people who didn't know him. But the Globe had staff members down there just observing, watching, and see what was going on. And this writer says, George, whom the state first turned to in 1997 to help turn around the trouble-lorn schools, is known for his integrity and for being a straight shooter while working with school districts in crisis. Glenn Kuchar, who is the executive director of the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, says he is not part of the culture of demonizing. He's a brilliant collaborator who knows how to work well with people. More importantly, stakeholders in the education field trust him. Larry Azer, who was chairman of the Randolph School Committee at the time, says, we work well with Matt. He is here to help. He is non-judgmental. These are things strangers say about Matt. Can't say, how we doing? Better now? All right, where am I? Time out. I lost my place. Give me a minute. Here we go. I have known Matt for most of my life. The entire Lebanese community is very proud of him, needless to say. The Lebanon American National Club, the members of that, and the parishioners of St. Teresa's Church have led the effort, trying to convince the school committee and the mayor to name the school after Matt. And after we said what we had to say about Matt and his attributes, and they're pretty well known with those folks anyway, they agreed. This school, Matt has deserved this. He's earned this. No one's given him a gift. He has earned it and then some. Matt's father, Manthala George Sr., came to this country from the same mountaintop village in Lebanon that my family came from, a town called Okura. Oddly enough, they both moved to Brockton. Little different times, but they moved to Brockton in the same general area. They were very good friends. In fact, they were friends to the point that Matt married my cousin, the sister of Al Aziaf, who was a school teacher here. And they had 3 wonderful daughters. My cousin Jerry has passed on. She did not have long life. But his daughters are here, and I'd like to introduce them to you, and please do not applaud until they're all standing. And I will start with Jackie. Jackie, if you would stand and turn around and give the gang a little hello. And remain standing. And Sharon, you're next, Sharon. Please stand up and, so we can recognize you. Suzanne? His 3 daughters, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Matt had 4 brothers. They're all gone. Matt had 3 sisters. One of his sisters is gone. But he has 2 sisters here. Sister Mary, that I don't know how anyone cannot love her. Mary, will you please stand up and let everyone take over? Turn around. Thank you, Mary. I know the other sister, Lena, is Lena. Matt's sister, Lena. Matt's other sister, her name was Margaret. Well, Lee and Margaret had an idea. Let's open a ladies' shop, upscale ladies' women clothing store. So they called it Lamar's. Very upscale ladies' shop in the city that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Well, they bailed me out at Christmas time and again and again and again. They knew my wife's taste, they knew her size, and I'd walk in there, maybe it was Christmas Eve or the day before if I was good, and they had it all stretched out. Your wife will love this, this, and this, and this, and this. So, okay, wrap them up. But then I would buy one thing. I would pick out one item on my own so I could tell my wife, I picked these out. Of course, I didn't get away with that, but nevertheless. They bailed me out year after. It was easy, guys. You should have had someone like that to do your shopping for you. At any rate, I'd like to say that on behalf of the Lebanese Club, the members, the parishioners at St. Teresa's Church, I would like to thank Mayor Harrington and the school committee for recognizing Matt's lifelong advocacy, his pursuit of excellence in a terrible time when he did not have all the means at his disposal. But he took in his heart, he was going to educate those kids. And he and the team with him and the teachers, they got the job done. And it is completely appropriate that this school be named after him. It's not a gift to him, it's something he earned. It's something that we should be anxious to name after him, and we are. And I thank all of those who were part of that. And finally, I'd like to congratulate Matt and his family on this very special day. His kids got to be bursting with pride, and his sisters and those who love him. And thank you all very much.
Let's see if I can fix this.
Who broke that?
Not us. The Honorable James Harrington, Mayor of Brockton.
You know, Matt always analyzes everything before he makes a decision. And when he made a decision who to tell how much time they had, he left me out because he knew he didn't need to do that. Right, Matt? But first I want to thank a few people. First I want to thank my wife who's here with me, Karen. Good to see you. When they introduced the VIPs, I don't know how Buzz missed you. We apologize for that. I want to, when we made a decision to build these last 2 schools, it was really a very difficult decision because we really didn't have the money to do it. And it took a lot of courage on behalf of the city council and the school committee to stand behind me in the decision to do this. And obviously, we're very excited and proud about the fact that we were able to get it done, because we know that the young people in this community deserve the best that we can give them, and that's what this is really all about. I want to also thank, you're going to hear shortly from Kathy Craven from the State Building School Authority. When I first became mayor and we sat down and we looked at doing these schools, we found out that through inflation, that the cost of the schools had escalated to the point where it was going to cost the city some $30 million out of their pocket to build the schools, and it was impossible. It was not something we were going to ever be able to do. And Kathy and her boss, the state treasurer, Tim Cahill, sat down with our legislators, and there was about 6 or 7 communities, I don't remember how many there were at the time, but the mayors were invited into the State House in Boston, and they put together a deal for us where we actually had been approved for 3 schools, and they made a deal where if we took that 3rd school off the table, which we weren't going to build anyhow, that they would give us the additional fund that needed to build these schools. So we went from having $30 million cost to build the schools to $6 million. And it was just too good of a deal to give up. But I want to thank Kathy, especially while she's here today, because we don't get a chance. The people that work behind the scenes and do all the work most of the time, we really don't get an opportunity to thank them. And Kathy, I want to thank you, and I hope you pass it on to the treasurer also. And I don't know if it was how they actually did it, but they put some language in a place in the budget that nobody would look, and that's how we got the deal done through our legislators. So thank you very much, Jerry and Tom and Christine and Michael, for the work that you did. Let me just say a couple of words about Matt. The happiest day of my life was when the school committee voted to approve this school being named after Matt George. And it wasn't only because I love Matt and he's been a good friend all these years, but the phone calls from Florida and the letters and all the things that all his friends had been sending me and yelling at me for the last 3 months was finally over. I knew they weren't going to call me anymore. The deal was done. Leave me alone. I see Tom Shields over there laughing. He was one of the leaders of the pack. But, you know, we've talked and heard a lot about Matt as the superintendent of schools and what a phenomenal job that he did. And, you know, and Matt also, for many, many years, was also a member of our license commission here in the city. At a time when he was really busy, he continued to do that. The other thing that Matt did that few people know is he took young rascals like myself and pointed them in the right direction when they got elected. And he gave us advice over the years. He's been a mentor of mine for many years, and I'm extremely proud to say that. And even today, I know that I can pick up the phone when we're in a tough situation and ask for his advice. One of the last things that he's done here in the city, when some of Matt's friends and some people got together and decided they were going to try and save Catholic education in the Archdiocese of Boston, it was Matt that they turned to and asked him to turn that thing around. They went out and raised the money, and they said, Matt, you do what you need to do to get it done. And the model that they built here in Brockton, the Trinity Academy, is a model that's going to be used all over the state. And Matt, we're extremely proud and thankful for that extra work that you did to bring those schools here to Brockton. There was some $13 million that got raised privately to get those schools done, and they did it in the fastest amount of time that has ever been done. They did those schools over the summer break and rehabbed the whole schools, and it was under the leadership of Matt, and Matt will always be in your debt for that. Thank you. Lastly, I want to say, one of the things that I always think about Matt is that, you know, when the things got the toughest, he would stay the calmest. He may not be calm inside, but, you know, I'm not Lebanese, I'm Irish. We're a little more excitable. So he would always be able to, you know, keep you calm, have you analyze the data and make the right decision. And as I said a few minutes ago, Matt, I think you've done a lot to shape me as a leader and as a politician, and I appreciate it. We'll be forever grateful and be proud to come by this building and see your name all the time. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
They're getting taller or I'm getting shorter. Catherine Craven, Executive Director, Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Thank you very much. Mayor Harrington, Senator Kennedy, Representative Creedon, Representative Brady, Representative Canavan, former Mayor Jack Units, former Representative Mark Lawton, now a judge, and Superintendent Nimberco. I'm thrilled to be here today to represent not only myself, but also State Treasurer Tim Cahill, who's the chairman of the board of the Massachusetts School Building Authority. It's great to be in a job where there's good news to give out in a sea of bad news that's out there all around us. And it's a testament to how great Brockton is as a city to see so many people here today on a beautiful, really the second beautiful day of the year, to be here to dedicate this building to a wonderful human being, Matt George, who not only positioned Brockton well to get the 90% reimbursement, making this building possible, as we heard from Councilor Urdieri earlier, but also a little bit of the story that came after that was Mayor Units and Mayor Harrington both had significant cost inflation that they saw coming down on these school projects. And as they talk about legislation and sausages, you don't want to see either one get made. I'm here to tell you today that the sausage came out okay. Because here we are in this beautiful building, which is going to be paid for $29 million of a $32 million bill. And I think Mr. Mayor, Treasurer Cahill would like to come down and give you a large check for that at some point in the near future. We're thrilled to be part of something where we took a 113-year-old building that Brockton owned and gave you this, a building that, as I learned today, had no cafeteria, and here you sit today in this beautiful cafeterium. We are committing to you that Treasurer Cahill and I will be back here to help you meet some of your other school needs over the next few years. Since 2005, Treasurer Cahill has written $65 million worth of checks to the city of Brockton, and I don't think that's going to be the end of it as long as we can keep the partnership going with the city. And with your leadership in place in the legislature and in City Hall, we've found it to be a remarkable, remarkable partnership. So I'm honored to be here today to officially wipe the name of the Colonel Bell Elementary School, informally so called, off of our dockets in Boston and have it be officially the Matt George School. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Christopher McMillan, Councilor, Ward 7.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. Matt, I'm proud and honored to have this school in my area that I represent. I know that for a fact that the residents in Ward 7 are also proud and honored. Just a brief history. I've been here as a councilor. I'm going to my 4th year. When I went door to door when I first started running for election, quite frankly, the residents didn't want the school in this area. And I'm happy that with the mayor, with all the job he's done, the delegation from the state, and also Ms. Craven here, and Treasurer Cahill, that this school has really changed everyone's mind in this area. It's another jewel added to Ward 7, along with the D.W. Field Park, which abuts in the back side here. This school fits absolutely perfect in this area. I just want to thank everyone for being here. I'm sure the George family, I want to thank them for being here, and I'm very proud of Matt's accomplishments. And once again, thank you very much. Matt, congratulations.
School Committee Member Ron Dabrowski, Ward 7.
One of the problems about being one of the last speakers is that everyone has stolen my thunder already. So I'll be brief. I hope you don't mind. First of all, welcome everyone. See, I'm brief. I'm privileged and honored to be here for 2 reasons. First of all, to honor Matt George. I never had the privilege of serving on the school committee under his tutelage, but I did serve on several of his community organizations and PACs. During that period, I got to know him well. I was greatly inspired by his compassion, his desire to increase student achievement, and his leadership. His aspirations were part of the reason why I decided to run for the school committee. When I was elected to the school committee some 14 years ago, Matt served as my mentor. He gave me suggestions, ideas, historical perspective, kudos for some of my good ideas, and constructive criticism, I guess you could say, in some of my other ideas. The second reason why I'm honored to be here and thrilled to be here is that this project has been a long project. I actually started working on this project some 12 years ago. First, the school committee, the facilities subcommittee of the school committee looked and evaluated the need for new schools. Next, we sought authorization from the state school building administration to look at possible reimbursements and assistance in building this. Next, the school committee sought monies from the city council and from the legislature, and thanks to both the city council and the legislature, we received the monies to do that. And all this was done through the tutelage of Kathy Craven. Without them, we wouldn't be here today. Next, we formed the school building committee, which was an independent committee made up of school committee members, city councilors, and community folks. The purpose of this committee was to do the final design for the building, to do and oversee the construction of the building, and to accept the building from the contractor. Our work's almost done. Both Mo Hancock and myself have served on these committees, both committees, for years. It's been a long and arduous task, and I'm glad that we're here. It's definitely a school for the 21st century, and I can't think of anyone better to have it named after than Matt George. Matt, thank you for everything.
Since Ron was brief and welcomed everybody, I'll just say a bit. First off, I'm immensely proud of this building, the Manthala S. George Junior School. It's a well-designed, spacious, infused with technology to truly make it a 21st century school. This building has 112,000 square feet. When you go tour it later, I want you to be able to understand what this school has, why it is so different than our other schools. Whitman was last century, actually 2 centuries ago, okay? This is a 21st century school. It'll be a K-5 when it's completed, and we will have full-day kindergarten for every single student in Brockton. This is something that was completed with this. It is have 750 students. And then when I looked at Matt's history, and I recognized the strong Lebanese community, that he's the son of immigrants. I'm an immigrant. I came off the boat literally myself and learned English here. And public education allowed me to be here. Public education allowed Matt to be here. That's why we are so passionate in our defense of public schools and making sure that every single student, regardless of origin, family, religion, color, creed, gets the best possible education. So it's altogether fitting and proper that this school also be the home to a series of special programs for second language students. It is the home of a two-way Spanish program. That program means that students from kindergarten all the way through here learn in English and Spanish. Bilingual teachers teaching them all of their subject matter. Those students will be completely proficient in the second language when they finish here. Secondly, as you saw the group before, this is the home of our structured English immersion program. So all students whose first language is not English and their home language is Spanish enter here. And they are given the benefit of, again, having opportunities and programs that will allow them to learn the language, learn the culture, respect the greatest country in the world, and become productive citizens of this country. This is very, very important. And again, it's great to have a school that is named after immigrant families that recognize it. I saw over here, and I saw successful families because, again, of public schools. The school has over $800,000 of technology. Let me just go over that so when you see it. It has interactive Promethean boards. When you walk into the classrooms, students can touch that board. It's a computer. It's a computer. There's wireless internet throughout this building. Anywhere you go in this building, there's internet service. Streaming video. Teachers can download content from the World Wide Web and any program and play it immediately in their classrooms. So again, the students get the benefit of the best the world has to offer. Students have handheld response systems. In the old days, when kids raised their hand, you remember, teacher called on someone had either the right or the wrong answer. If they had the correct answer, we knew one person had it right. How about the rest of the kids? Now they can respond with handheld computers. The teacher will know that every student understands, that every student gets it, so they can go on to the next level. Much more efficient, and again, utilizing this. Some of you old folks, it's like Jeopardy. Please go see the cutting-edge computer labs. We also have 5 mobile carts containing 30 laptops each, so teachers can have access, can have every student on a computer during that particular lesson. We have state-of-the-art document cameras. Remember the old overheads and the opaque projectors? Well, now we have document cameras. Put it on there, projects right on there, right from the student's work, and the students can work on it. Also has a piece that can go right into a microscope, so science lab, science experience can be projected up there. They're called Elmos, and that's something that we're really pleased to have that. We have audio amplification in every single room. Now you ask, what is that? When you observe classes, you'll see that sometimes teachers have soft voices. And if you're sitting in the back of the room and you can't hear very well, you don't understand what's happening, what happens? You turn off. So we make sure that every classroom has audio amplification. Teachers wear a small little microphone around their neck, and every student now has a front row seat to what happens in the classroom. They are engaged in the lessons. Absolutely necessary. The facilities, gleaming, beautiful colors. You're sitting in a 500-student cafeteria, and that's probably the best elementary school gymnasium I've ever seen anywhere. Anywhere. There's play fields. The library upstairs is equal to colleges. And on top of that, to ensure, and the state was very generous, and the federal government also, as you know, our sister school has state-of-the-art technology, and this is the comparison school. But this comparison school also has extreme efficiency, so we don't waste our natural resources. We have the smallest possible footprint we can have. HVAC heating system, they're extremely efficient, state-of-the-art. Every classroom has a sensor in it. You walk in, the light goes on, nobody moves for a little while, lights go off. Teachers have to go like this every now and then. The school is sited to maximize sunlight and minimize the use of electricity. As far as irrigation goes, we collect the rainwater, underground cisterns, and we irrigate all our fields and green spaces with that. Recycle everything. It's extremely important our students learn now and appreciate what it's like to be conservators of our environment and of our world. And this school cost, the 2 new schools, as the mayor and other people have said, $67 million. And again, I want to compliment the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. 90% of it was funded by the state. That is a remarkable bargain. 10% local, 90% state. So when you think about buildings, remember our students will live their entire lives in the 21st century. We must give them the tools to be competitive and succeed in a flat world, a global competition. No longer are we going to be competing with the next town. We're competing with India, with China, with Russia, with Brazil. Our students must be able to use technology, must learn other languages, and have the skills that are 21st century. When we think about this, if I said to you 15 years ago, email me. There are jobs called webmasters out there. Today I was listening that Senator McCain doesn't know how to use a computer, but he was Twittering. Okay, older crowd. But again, the world is changing so rapidly that we have to ensure that our students have the resilience, the flexibility, the technology, and the leadership that they can be able to adapt and be successful. So I think, what greater tribute could it be to a lifelong educator than to have a school named after him? So I just want to say that educators, Matt, and every other educator in this room, we are optimists. We work for the future. We're not talking about yesterday, nor are we talking about today. We want a better world, and the Manthala George School will contribute to a better Brockton, a better Massachusetts, and I know a better world. So congratulations, Matt.
Principal of the George School, Vilma Gonzalez.
Before I begin, can I have my two students up here? Thank you, and welcome everyone. Matt, it's a pleasure to see you again. This has been an incredible journey for me, as I too came from immigrant parents. My mother is here with us today as well. And having been named principal of the George School is certainly one of the highlights in my career. Since I arrived in Brockton, I have been hearing a lot about Matt George and all the things he did for the city, how he worked with the staff and community to build up the school system into what it is today. He led the school system, as we have heard, during some very difficult times and had to make some hard decisions, but at the end, the schools began to flourish. Matt George is still considered by many as an innovative leader who took the time to listen to people, no matter who they were. The respect he gained from many is still evident today as you look around. And now I find myself here in this magnificent building. My hope is that I too can lead my staff with his sensitivity and insight as we advanced into the 21st century. But I begin this journey with a great group of people, many of whom are here today. Can the teachers and staff of the George School stand, please? This is the group that will go with me and have embarked on this journey with me. Together we hope, Mr. George, to continue your legacy for providing the children of Brockton an education that will lead them to a better and a brighter future. Mr. George, I hope you will visit us often. Our students are very anxious to meet you. Now, we came together here as a group of children from the Whitman School and a group of students from the Arnone School. And we have united into a new family. We are now the Manthala George School and have selected the Jaguar to be our school mascot. The Jaguar is black with spots, but it is also orange with spots, which is very fitting as we now have two schools that have come together as one. Can I have Maya? Mr. George, if you can come up, please. Read into.
Good afternoon. My name is Maya Silva, and I am a former Arnone School student.
My name is Michael Marcy, and I am a former Whitman student.
Today we are very fortunate to call ourselves George Jaguars.
Your efforts toward making education the best that it can be for students continues on here in this school.
Please accept this gift of appreciation and consider yourself the newest member of the Manthala George Jaguar Pride.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And on behalf of everyone, I also want to present you this gift.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The man of the hour, Mr. Manthala George. Matt.
Thank you. That's good. Peter really did break this thing. Thank you all. I simply want to take a few minutes to express my sincere thanks and appreciation to Mayor Harrington, members of the school committee, for this special recognition. I also want to thank Superintendent Nemberkow and his administrative assistant, Barbara, Souza, Jean, for all the helps that they've made in making this a very special day. And also my brother-in-law, Albert, who kept things going. This isn't something that I ever sought, expected, or thought about. It's humbling, and a thank you seems inadequate and not enough. The real benefactors of this beautiful school are going to be the countless number of youngsters over the years that attend here. And as beautiful and as well equipped that this school really is, the key to the success will be the outstanding teachers that stood and the administrators that provide the quality of education that all of these youngsters deserve, and also be able to utilize the tremendous technology in this facility. They're the keys to making this happen. You know, as I walked into this building, I visited this building on one other occasion. I saw the name outside and it brought back some very special memories. You see, there was another Manthala George. He was my father, and he was alluded to by different speakers. He was the senior, I was the junior. And he came to this country in 1907 as a teenager from Lebanon. He was 15 years old. He settled in Brockton with many of his Lebanese friends. My mother came over a few years later. They met, they married, they had 8 children. You met my sister Mary, and my sister Lee, and I. Of the 8, we're the remaining ones. My father also had 52 godchildren. So when you talk about the godfather, he was the real thing. And one of the things that wasn't mentioned by any of the previous speakers is my father worked in a shoe factory throughout his career. And it was hard work, and he worked at Knapp Shoe. And last Sunday, I think I read in the paper where FootJoy was leaving. And it no longer is the end of manufacturing, but it's an end of an era where many of the immigrants that came to this country found a way to work. It was hard, honest work, and it provided the means to support our family when we were young. You know, Brockton has always been my home, and still is for my sisters. We continue to live here. And actually, all my brothers and sisters, we all lived here. And I thought about the values that my parents had, and the things that were important to them. Family, your faith, your heritage, your integrity, your reputation. My father used to always say to me, don't you ever destroy that name. You know? The work ethic, the respect. And those values that were instilled in us, as I'm sure they were in all of you. And in many ways, my story, the story of my father, is the same as your story. It's no different because of our backgrounds. And regardless of the country, regardless of where your heritage is from, our fathers and forefathers all worked hard and had certain values and practices and were protective of their families. And as the name Manthala is an unusual name in the United States, as a matter of fact, throughout my life, I never ran across another one. And recently, I was at Logan Airport, and the security guard looked at my passport and looked at it and looked at it and looked at me, and she says, Manthala George. And I says, yes. I said, you ever hear of that name before? She said, never, never. She said, no. And I hope that each youngster attending this school will see him or herself as a special person, be proud and confident about who they are, and know that his or her name, whatever it may be, is very special and identifies them in a very special way. I had the pleasure and the privilege, really, of serving as superintendent for 11 years in the Brockton Public Schools. And I viewed one of my major responsibilities, the same as Buzz and others, to be the leading advocate for all students in our schools. And regardless of the issue, our job was to provide the leadership to address those issues and see that all students are given the best education or opportunities that the community and the state really could afford. And during my tenure, I was very fortunate that I had great support from Mayors Cal Pataro, Wynn Farwell, and I saw this continued with Mayor Jack Units and Mayor Harrington. We've also had great support from members of the school committee. Their commitment to public education in Brockton continues to resonate with the construction of the new schools during this past decade, including the Arnone School, the Angelo School, the Plouffe School, and the Mary Baker School. You know, this coupled with the innovative programs and comprehensive services has earned the Brockton Public Schools the reputation as being one of the finest districts in the state of Massachusetts. You know, and I wish the teachers, the administrators, and the staff of this school the greatest success in providing the highest quality of education to the students that will attend for generations to come. And to all of you who are here this afternoon and have been so supportive, again, my most sincere thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to thank our management team and food associates from Chartwell's and the Brockton Public Schools for their delightful treats over here. They would be very, very disappointed if you didn't partake of their treats. So please help yourself to them when we're done, and we're almost done. I just have a 15-minute speech, but I'll cut it down with Matt, I won't talk about 1967 in West Virginia High School. There is a guest book. It was on the table. I'm not sure where it is now, but Matt and his family would be very appreciative of it if you would sign the guest book today. And after you're done here in this room, we welcome all of you to take a tour of the new school. You can do it on your own. There are maps that can be provided for you, but please take advantage of this opportunity to see this wonderful, wonderful school. Thank you all for being here, and that does end our ceremony today.